kind of. Good evening. We're here at Happily Ever After Schnauzers, and I'm here with Amanda Shores from Nightingale Schnauzers. I'm sure you're used to seeing us together. We've had a very exciting day of sending puppies home, and that is one of the best parts of our jobs, is getting to see the families be so happy. On that note, we had promised that we would do a video about guardian homes and a little bit more about what that is and how that works.
Yep.
Amanda's been using guardian homes a little bit longer than us, so I am going to let her take the floor and talk about how that has worked for Nightingale Schnauzers for the past several years and how they have utilized that. And then I have some specific questions that we've been asked ahead of time that we're going to touch on and get some of her feedback on. We currently have only used 3 guardian homes. So for Happily Ever After, we have not used them as much as Nightingale has or as long term. We haven't had as much time of going through it to give more information and feedback, but it is something that we're looking into. So Amanda?
So a guardian home program is not like a dog that gets retired. So a guardian home program is a really special program that we sort of, in a way, co-own a dog with a family. I guess the ownership will stay with the breeder, but the family gets to enjoy a puppy from that breeder at a much lower cost, depending on if it's a puppy or an adult. And then, you get to basically have that baby, and that baby still gets to, experience that family life and still gets to be with you. It is mostly your dog, but again, the breeder does own the dog, and then they will come back to us, and we will of course have them either be moms or dads, and then once their time is done with us, then we will have them we'll actually basically transfer them over to you, so then they're yours forever. So it's a little bit special of a program. There's a lot of specifics that go into it, but it is a program that a lot of our families have loved.
So you have an application process.
Yes.
And we have done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I was a family that was interested in wanting to, I know that you are currently looking for a guardian home for 2 of your babies at this time. And so if I was interested in doing that, how would I go about it?
So you would contact us first. You would put in an application. And then we would go through the applications. We'd see what family would be best for that certain puppy, and then we would also do a phone interview. We would ask that you provide vet references, and then we would also do a home check as well. Once we figure out, that hey, this family has been approved, we would of course let you meet the dog or the puppy, and then we would still along the way explain the process, because the process is not for every family. Not every family wants to have a guardian dog. It is something that is strenuous sometimes when it comes to your feelings with that dog and your bond with that dog, because you will have some times that you will not have that dog in your care. Because of course they either have to come to us to be bred, they have to come to us to whelp, and that whelping, especially for females, could take 10 weeks. So it is, a little bit strenuous on that bond.
So when you talked about the application process and all of that, then if you are approved as a guardian home, and you've passed your home check, you've passed your references, and everything seems to be good, then there is a contract.
Yes, there is a contract. Of course, that covers us and it covers you as well. It is a contract that states everything very plainly, as far as, what you are agreeing to and, what is expected of you. There are a lot of things like, certain vaccines that we may not agree with. There's also a certain food that we want our dogs to be on, especially being breeding dogs. And there's, certain flea and tick things that we may not want our dogs to be on. So you do have to follow a little bit stricter of a regimen when you do have a guardian dog.
So when you look at a guardian home family, the way that it works for us and for you, I'm talking to her like I don't know, but this is something we have really worked on and been fine-tuning together, is that if you're looking at, let's say, Yzma,
Yes.
She would be up for a guardian home in about 6 weeks.
Yes.
At earliest.
Yes, earliest. Yes.
So when a dog goes to a guardian home, it is fully vaccinated for its basic.
Yep.
Up to rabies.
Yep.
And it has been cleared to be in a breeding program by the vet as of that point.
Yep.
And so she would go home with a family, and then a family would look at having that dog with them and not having to come back to you until at what age?
Until at least their second heat cycle. So you're looking at about a year and a half. A year and a half to 2 years, right around there.
That you would have that
Yes.
dog and not have to.
Yes.
But then, dogs come into heat about twice a year. So they have to go back to the breeder.
Yes.
When they go into heat, then they go back to before they whelp.
Yes.
Which
So
is
about
talking
2
about having
weeks.
babies.
Yes. So they will come to us to be bred. Usually we keep them about a week to 2 weeks. And then they'll go back home. And then they'll come back to us when they are 2 weeks before they whelp. So 2 weeks before they have those babies. We want them, to come and get familiar with their surroundings. Even though they do know us, it's going to be a little bit of a change. And it may, be a little bit stressful for them. Not too much. But again, we want them to become, familiar with that whelping area. And they have like little apartments, basically. And so then they're with us until they whelp. And then they're with us until their babies go home.
Okay, and then how long do dogs look at typically being in a guardian home program? How long is that you're working with the breeder? Because the breeder owns the dog.
Yes,
That's one thing that has to be very clear.
Yes, the breeder
The dog
does
is
own the dog.
microchipped to the breeder.
Yes.
The papers are with the breeder.
Yes.
So AKC, Kennel Club papers. And then also the vet records belong to the breeder and the family.
Yes.
But the breeder is number one, and it is very clear with the vet that the breeder has the final say on things, because you still own that dog, because you could walk away, but we never can.
Yes.
That's that part. So with that, and what you're giving up is this time with your dog, but you of course are only paying a small fee to have some skin in the game, that we know that you're interested and have something in it, that you want to do this. And as always, there's always children around. That's like number 2 interruption. Let's see if we can get to 5. That seems to be the average. But you're getting this dog and all of this for that cost, and about how long?
So it depends. I mean, every female is different, but normally it's about 3 to 4 when they're 3 to 4 years old. That is our kind of cutoff point. Now, males will be a little bit different, and the males don't have to come as often either, and
or stay as long.
Yeah. So you're looking, if you were to get a male that needed to go to a guardian home, they come to us for 2 weeks, and they may not come to us again for another year, or they might come to us, a few times a year, but for about a week to 2 weeks. It doesn't take very long. So it is a little bit easier if you do have a male that's in a guardian home. But the females, usually till they're about 3 to 4 years old. Now, we also reserve the right to, hey, if we feel like that we need to, not breed her past 2 years old, okay, that's our decision. But it is normally set in the contract how long, it is that we're going to have that dog in our program.
Yeah, I believe ours says how many breedings is our estimate.
Yes, how many breedings is an estimate.
And so that would, of course, just be the longest. It can end shorter than that. When people ask me, how long do you breed your females? I'm like, that is so up in the air.
Yes, every female's different.
Yeah, I've had dogs that had 2 litters and we were done. I've had dogs that had 1 litter and we were done. And I've had dogs that had 6 litters and everything was great, and then they were done. So it's very, it's a decision that's made with the vet.
It is, yes.
And you're always aware of what's going on?
Yes, at all times, both parties are aware of what's going on, and that includes the vet records too. Your vet, as much as they can, are in contact with us or our vet, and even, of course, you'll be taking care of the basic care, and so all of that basic care is then faxed over to our vet. So that way, both vets, and I mean, you could still go to our own vet too, but both vets are up to date of what's going on.
Yes, and I know for Amanda's program, you actually even have cameras that the guardian homes can log in and see their dog and that kind of thing. That is not something that we have done at this point. she lives in a better Wi-Fi area. And so I'm not sure that our Wi-Fi would, here in the sticks, support all that, but it has been something that we have considered. But that's something that you guys do. The other thing that we have not talked about that I think is important is also location. So we can only consider people that live
up to 2 hours away. And that is just what we are willing, you know, to go to, what we're willing to drive. Now, normally the Guardian Home does bring the dog to us. We don't normally do the transportation. However, some things come up, life happens, and we may have to go get the dog. And at that time, then, you know, of course, we don't want to go more than 2 hours away. So it is usually within that 2 hour range.
And I guess the last thing would be is that when the dog is retired, that is when full ownership is completely relinquished.
That's right. Full
and
ownership.
then it is your dog, and they get to live out your life. And the thing that's wonderful for us is that then we're not looking for homes when the dogs are retired if they are not going to stay with us. And that they don't have to acclimate to a new life and a new lifestyle. So the biggest reason that we looked into this was because of the lifestyle and life that we wanted our dogs to have. So anybody who's been to my house knows that there is dogs everywhere, and they are running around and happy-go-lucky, and that is how we love our life. But not every dog likes that.
No, they don't.
There are dogs that do not like to be in a big pack and have a lot of going on. I have 5 children. We have goats and chickens and guineas. And for Amanda, even though you only have 1 child, you're very active with your nieces and nephews.
Yes.
Very, and you are part of a big family.
Yes, I am. Yes. And then we also have the grooming business too.
Yes, and you guys do your training. So you have board and training. So you have a lifestyle very similar to ours, where there's lots of people in and out, lots of things going on all the time. And so when we are assessing our dogs, and we've had this talk about several of the dogs that we have. Amanda and I actually just bought a male together, and we were talking about what we wanted to do, and we decided that we really wanted a Guardian Home for this male. And we were talking about some of the females that we have coming up, because it worked out that we got several puppies at the same time, and we really want a certain lifestyle for our dogs. And so, as much as we both wish we could hand raise every single one and spend all that time, we also have lots of litters. And that takes a lot of our time. So
we need other families' help.
I know. And then there's our kids, like the human babies. I mean, what
exactly.
And spouses. Those too. Those things too.
They need some time too.
I know. They're like needy and stuff. They want to talk and have a date night.
A date, yeah.
A
what
date
is that?
night.
Yeah.
God, wow. Wouldn't that be lovely?
That would be awesome, yeah.
So when you're looking at all of that, that's why the Guardian Home seems to be the best of both worlds. So in the 3 instances we've done it here at Happily Ever After, it's been awesome. And it has worked out really well. And Amanda, you've actually had it where it didn't work out. And
yes, I did.
One time you pulled a dog, one time they returned a dog. Do you want to talk about how that ended up playing out a little bit?
The one time that that they returned the dog, it just didn't work out for her. She, just decided that she would rather own the dog than she would have them being in a Guardian Home. She had a lot going on in her life, and she just figured that it would be best if he came back, which was perfectly fine. And then another time where I did have to, I pulled the dog just because of the family lifestyle. There was a family event that went on that the dog just did not need to be in the situation that it was in. And it's not that I just went to their house and, repoed the dog by any means. This was a conversation that I had with the family that it was best and in the best interest of the dog to pull. And so, and now, she's not traumatized by it, and neither was the other dog that, of course, was relinquished. But it worked out for everyone. And that's one thing that I want people to understand, is just because you decide to do this doesn't necessarily mean that you're stuck. And if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. But we do want people to be serious when they are considering being a Guardian Home. Some of the perks, too, that go with being in a Guardian Home is, I know with me, with my dogs, they do get 50% off of grooming, which I'll offer, of course, to Megan's dogs as well. And then they also get free boarding. And so
because we require it.
Yes.
That was one of the things that we're very strict because our dogs are breeding dogs. we cannot risk them going to a commercial boarding facility. And being around huge dogs. We do not want them to go to daycare. They're not allowed to go to a public daycare. Amanda offers a daycare, and if you are within an hour and a half of me, they can go to Amanda's dog's daycare, because I know the level of cleaning, and our biggest fear is always parvo. I mean, because it could kill all these puppies, and then you think about these families and what we go through, and just that much death. So we can't do that. So that perk is that we offer boarding free of charge, and they're required to stay with us or an approved family member or friend. It's something that we need to have a conversation about. And so honestly, that was like the clinching factor for our last Guardian home. They were like, oh, wait, you'll board it so we can still travel and do stuff, because they are in that stage of life. And they were like, well, that like was the perfect option.
Something else that, we do require, at least on our end, is that we love when people travel with their dogs, but we don't allow the Guardian Home dogs to travel out of state. So that is something that is, because of course we need them to be close just in case. So we do not allow them to travel out of state, but with us offering free boarding, you don't really have to think about the extra expense. So that's a question that has come up before with my Guardian Homes, is can I take them out of state? I have not
actually had that come up yet. So there we go.
We're going to Myrtle Beach.
So quick recap, there is several steps.
Yes.
There is applications and then contracts. That are written by an attorney. They are legally binding contracts that have to be notarized. So there is that. And then there is also that the maximum amount of time someone is typically looking at dealing with their dog being in a Guardian Home is about 5 years for a female.
Yeah. Because
that first year you can't do anything with them. You can't breed them. You should not breed them. That is the goal. And then for males, it's maximum of age 7.
Yeah.
So
max age 7.
And usually we retire prior to that, but that's the maximum length of time. So that's what you're kind of looking at. But of course, females, it's less time, but more time away. With males, it is that they are with you most of the time, and you have a very small amount of time they're away from you, but they do stay in the program longer. And we did not come up with this. There is lots of information on the internet, but what I wanted to say, because of some of the questions I've got, is it seems very common for doodle breeders to use Guardian Homes, but every breeder has their own rules and has their own set of what is expected of them. So while you can absolutely look at it online, if it's something that you're interested in, you really need to contact Amanda or I've tagged her in this video. As there are different dogs that are up at different times, and honestly, if you're looking for a certain type of dog and you seem like a great family, I don't have a dog that matches, I would absolutely be happy to send it to Amanda and see if she has a dog that has a personality, because that part is the most important, that the lifestyle and personality of the dog match. So yeah, I hope that this answered a lot of questions that we've been getting about Guardian Homes. People seem very excited about the idea of it. And there are pros and cons to both, and definitely a lot of soul searching, but there's definitely a lot of questions that have to go back and forth on both sides. It's not a quick process, because this is a living, breathing animal that has a life and feelings, and so we want to make sure that we're making the best decision for our dog, and bouncing them from home to home is not something I'm willing to do.
No, not at all.
So if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact either one of us. We are happy to answer them. Even if you are another breeder and you are interested in that. I've had a couple breeders tell me that they thought that's an awesome idea, and they were interested in how that worked. As we've been going through it and learning, I learned a lot from Amanda, because she's been doing it much longer. Yeah, it's just a constant thing, like, oh, that hadn't come up yet. So just like in breeding, there's new things that come up. We are very excited that on Happily Ever After side, we got Sapphire's x-ray back today, so we'll be posting that this evening, so take a look. And I am dying to get the guess on how many puppies everybody thinks she has. hers is a super fun X-ray to look at. So it's one of those that I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all those bones. So that's very fun, and we're very excited about her having her puppies this week, and the rest of our puppies that are going home. I know that we haven't been on a whole lot. It's been a lot to care for them and just actually get all of the things done that we want to do with socialization and all of that. But it's definitely worth it in the end. And I know that we are... one of the videos that you guys have asked that Amanda and I are going to be doing here in the near future is about the medications we use and what things we keep on hand for whelping, and then for just our dog's first aid, and what things that we use, and some different things like that. As I've been sending home a lot more information about over-the-counter medications you can use for your dog and things about CPR. Yep. I've had a lot of things that people say, would you talk through that? So Amanda and I will be doing that video in the future. I think that might be one of the next ones we do. So I hope that you guys will tune in. So definitely like our page so that you can know when we go live, and go over to Nightingale Schnauzers and like their page. And any of our local people, I have made sure to post it, and I will again. People were asking me, Amanda, your grooming page.
Yes.
And I always say the name backwards.
So it's Dapper Yappers Grooming.
We say Yapper Dapper.
Yeah. Remember in the alphabet, the D comes before Y. So Dapper Yappers Grooming.
So yeah, so she has been grooming several of the dogs that have come from us, and that always makes us happy because I love her facility. She actually knows how to groom a Schnauzer, and they look beautiful when they're done. All of our puppies that are going home over the next 2 weeks were groomed at Dapper Yappers, and I am so thankful for her help because 22 puppies in a day was insane, but they're all beautiful.
We did it.
So please go over to her grooming page and please like it and share it so that we can get her name out there. Yeah. And also training. That's the other video that we really have to do here soon.
Yes, we do.
Because we did Coco's board and train, and we're going to be doing a video about that at some point.
Yeah.
At some point.
In the near future.
At some point. Yeah. So anyway, have an awesome weekend. We will be tuning in with you guys again soon. And thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, like our page so that you can get notified when we go live.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.